Hi, I'm your host, US Pantera, here in Ear Fetish, and frankly, this should have probably been the first video on this channel. Honestly, before the Z12s, before anything else, I don't know how I made it like this far in without talking about the Dunu Zen Pros. Or the Dunu Zens, for that matter. An IEM that I probably won't re-review because the Dunu Zen Pros, and I'll take them out of my ears, are their successor, and everything they were, these are, but better. So if you don't have the money, get the standard ones. If you do have the money, get the pros. So these are a $900 dynamic. Now, there was one more dynamic I did. $800 was the illuminations, right? And the Moondrop illuminations are very similar. I think 10 millimeter or 10.1, doesn't matter. But the purposes they serve versus, the illuminations versus the Dunu Zen Pros are very different. The illuminations bring me to tears. I cry. They're emotional. They make all the music sound lovely. The Dunu Zen Pros are the IEM I've used the most since they came here. And actually, the Dunu Zens are the IEM I use the most before the Dunu Zen Pros. For the very simple reason that these are the stethoscope of the audio world. I'm using them. I have the standard selection of amps, except I added the JDS Labs EL2 balanced amplifier. Just because here's the thing, what these do are be the most sensitive IEM. And I forget which one recently, I was like, this has got to be the most sensitive. Not even fucking close. This is the most sensitive. Because I was listening, and here's the amp on low, and there's a very, very well indicated mark because I had to fucking draw it there. And it is listenable there, blisteringly loud there. And what that allows this IEM to do is, okay, it's super efficiency, so that's great. But here's what it does. This is why it's called the stethoscope of the audio world, is I can plug this into any amplifier, stop my music from playing, turn the volume knob up. And if I hear, like you do in, say, a GSX Mini, I know that the noise floor in the GSX Mini is rather high. Now, whether you would ever play the music while that's going on, that's up to you. Or if you even care that it's there. Like something like the Topping A90D is dead nut silent until like the last 10% in the highest gain setting. The Topping LA90 here, the speaker amp. I plug these super sensitive things into the speaker amp, and you turn it all the way up with no music playing, and I can just sort of tell, like there's this, it's not even like a sound, there's just sort of like this presence that occurs when you're at that sort of level. It's like, okay, there's definitely something, but it's not really noise. So I've pulled these out, and almost every headphone amp review for the last, since these came out, 5 months, and before that the Zens, the non-pros, a year. So for almost 2 years now, I've just been using these. And I guess you want to know what they sound like, which would make sense. But I actually sat here to do this review. I'm about to do the SA6 Ultra, which is going to come out before this, because that has to come out tomorrow because it's being released tomorrow. And I'm like, I got to do a warm-up. I got to do an IEM that I know, an IEM that I love, and then I got to see how it compares, because I'm going to sit down in a bit for that. And you know what these sound like? They sound like my music. And that sounds like a cop-out way to describe something. But I don't ever, I don't pull these out for pleasure. And I absolutely could. You spend $900 on an IEM, you better pick them out for fucking pleasure. The problem is that they vary wildly per amplifier. Even the few that I have here on the desk. Because the JDS Labs versus this SMSL SH6 versus the Gesell Labs Arcal 2.5 versus the Y11 Topaz versus the Topping. On the Topping, I can't even get the volume knob to move. It's like, it's too loud. It's too loud. And so they sound thin because it's too much, too fast to know. And then even the Y11 Topaz on low gain, I'm barely touching it. So it literally comes to a point where it's like, it's not enjoyable on it. Not that I'm saying that's not a bad amp, obviously. But then I put on the JDS Labs on low gain, I can actually get into it and start listening. And then the SH6 actually sounds warm with these because it's such a lightweight, delicate amplifier. You can turn it up. And then the same thing with the Gesell Labs. It's pretty lightweight on low gain, except we get a little more brightness to it. These don't sound like anything. These IEMs are one of the only IEMs I've ever used that have they are the chameleon. Its blood was on the leaves. You put on music, and that music comes out of these in your ears. And every fucking thing in the middle between your eardrum that's picking up the vibrations and the digital signal in the computer varies. I've heard songs that I love through these that I hate the way it sounds. And I've heard, and that depends on if I'm using literally which DAC. Yeah, I know DACs make a difference apparently through these. Which amp, if the amp's on high gain, if the amp's on low gain, if I got the seating right, because again, I'm using Deconi tips on this. I'm not using the stock cable. I should point that out also. I'm using, just like the Illuminations, DD Hi-Fi sent me one of these insanely nice cables, even though the one that came with the Dunus is probably one of the nicest cables, interchangeable heads. And that's not the motion for interchangeable heads, but interchangeable head. This one's got a fixed 4.4. It's such a nice cable, and I felt like these needed that like extra little cherry on top just to be the best of the best. But really, these don't. I could tell you right now, because they're going to ask. I'm going to have to bring this up when I'm reviewing the SA6 Ultras. The SA6 Ultras make my music sound better than it is, and this is the most honest I am. Period. I trust this the most. That's a thing you have to, like, that's an earned thing. You don't just like buy this, oh, I listened to 6 songs in it. Yeah, no, this is the most trustworthy IEM I've ever heard. No, you don't fucking know that until you've listened to hundreds of tracks on dozens of pieces of equipment. Like, this would be my pick for studio. Like, oh, I'm mixing, mastering music. I've listened, if you said, Zeos, here's a mixing console and you got to play with all the equalization, but these over pretty much almost all headphones, like HG600s, okay, trustworthy. NDH20s, not the 30s. The 30s make everything sort of sound better than it is. 20s, Tim Socks. 1, 2, 3 headphones, and these IEMs. The end. I don't deal with the Shure neutrality. What Shure does for neutral and like the boredom, and I can't do it. But you put in the Zens or the Zen Pros, honestly, mix and match depending on your budget. But you put in the Zen Pros, you find an amplifier that can work with them. I'm gonna put this back in my ear. Hold on for like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Please let me listen some more. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you ready? I can't even go 90 degrees. It's gonna be too loud. Goods like if I could measure soundstage and imaging and bass and treble and bass quality, this would be if 10 was too much and 0 was too little or 1 was too little. This is 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Pure. It is a pure line of cocaine of music, just straight from there through whatever fucking you're cutting the cocaine with and into your head. I can't praise them enough, and it doesn't sound like it sounds like I'm saying, oh, you know, Zio said they weren't that good for music. They're fucking amazing for music. It's just these, more than almost anything else, your source matters. And it's not like you have to have one particular thing. Everything here and everything here has passed the Dunu Zen test. That's just how it is. These are the line. These are like you show up at the club and it's not like they don't want to see your ID. They want to plug fucking Dunu Zen Pros into you and see if you fucking suck. All right, you suck. Get out of here. You're plugging into you. Oh, you sound great. You can come in. Yeah, these IEMs absolutely earn their $900 place, and I use them as a write-off. Oh, I review audio equipment. I need a review desk, some lighting. I need a camera. I need a storage solution for local music. I need a Rune server, and I need the Dunu Zen Pros. The checklist, because I need to assess things. God, and I want to listen to them. I want to listen to them. What? Why are you yelling at the chair? He's just yelling at the chair. Can I listen to Pond de Flor? It does that thing, though, where if your music sucks, you're going to know it. But if your music is amazing... Major laser, Pond de Flor. Wide, airy, whiffy. Whiffy, that's not even a word. Like, it's... These are the most trustworthy IEMs I've ever owned. Maybe the most trustworthy piece of audio equipment I've ever owned. Like, and I don't say this fucking lightly. These are the Genelecs of IEMs. I understood Genelec when I did my review of them. I'm like, oh, those are like $6,000 for two of them to be like perfectly and then measured, and then you had to put the digital. And I was like, wow, this is an experience of something happening that I've never had before. And I go, oh God, that's it. I cannot praise them hard enough. Are they my favorite IEM to listen to music on? No. There's other ones that do more bass, more treble, more soundstage, less soundstage. But these, trust them. It's one of those I haven't even sold the originals. These beat the originals with just a single 10 millimeter dynamic. And I still haven't sold those. Just in case I need a second set, I can just bring them upstairs. So yeah, no, I'm Zeos Pantera. This is In Ear Fetish, that wallpaper in the Horde. Links to these. Thank you to my sponsors. There's 3 sponsor links in the description. Please check them occasionally. They'll change out once a month or so, or maybe someone buys 3 months worth. I don't know. Don't know where they go. Don't know who's sponsoring me for this month, but thank you. Thank you to all the people who support this channel, patrons and subscribe star. You get to see these reviews early, by the way, if you support. Usually in chunks of like 5 or 6. Anyway, I'm done. I got to do other things, and and they're pretty too. Oh, the magnetics are, by the way, absurd. Like, you can't get them to touch. It's one of those like neodymium bullshits. It's like science in there, man. Science.